Cubs win! Cubs win!
In Chicago, the celebrants were drawn to Clark and Addison to stand before the ballpark that symbolizes the Chicago Cubs, the champions of the National League East.
I wish we were there. I wish we were there to celebrate with them. Unfortunately, we can't be there, but what a city and what fans.
So they deserve everything. They stuck behind us when we was losing. Now we're winning, and we came in this year with a so-so team, and now we stand on top so far. I just hope we continue. And Cub fans, this for you.
On October 4th, postseason play returned to Wrigley Field for the first time since 1984. It was the Cubs against the San Francisco Giants in a best-of-7 series.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to beautiful Wrigley Field for Game 1 of the 1989
National League Manager of the Year, Don Zimmer, had led the Cubs to 93 victories. When they met Roger Craig's Giants, it was as champions of the National League East. It was a dream that had really come true. But on the first night of the playoffs, it turned into a nightmare. When it was finally over, the Clark Express had dropped a stunning 11-3 defeat off at Wrigley Field. The next day, it seemed like only the weather would prevail. But by game time, the rains relented. The Giants picked up where they had left off, with Brett Butler getting a leadoff walk. Mike Bielecki immediately served notice that things would be different tonight.
Hey, they got him! They got him! A great ball by Mike Bielecki.
Then, in the big inning, the Giants starter was ex-Cub Rick Russell. And Big Daddy was welcomed back to Wrigley Field by Jerome Walton's leadoff single. Ryne Sandberg's triple drove him in for the first run. And then Mark Grace doubled to score Sandberg with the second run. And the Cubs' bats were blazing. By the time the light-hitting Bielecki came up, it was 3-0 with the bases loaded. Bielecki padded the lead with a single to center that scored Salazar and Dunston. And now the Giants were staring at a 5-0 deficit. Just for good measure, Jerome Walton got his second hit of the inning, driving in Joe Girardi. In an astounding first inning, the Cubs sent 12 men to the plate and scored a playoff record 6 runs. But it wouldn't be all offense for the Cubs on this big night. In the third, Jerome Walton robbed Robbie Thompson in center field with a vine-rattling catch. In a night with many stars, the brightest was Mark Grace. In the sixth, he hit his second double of the game, this time with the bases loaded. It cleared the bases and ran the score to 9-2. Les Lancaster came on in relief in the eighth, and though the Giants showed signs of life at the end of the game, the big lead stood up for an exhilarating 9-5 victory. It was a rare and glorious night in Chicago. A big win in a very big series, where it was now back to even. But there was only a brief moment to savor the big victory before packing the tools and heading to San Francisco for games 3, 4, and 5 at Candlestick Park. The San Francisco Bay Area was enjoying a warm October when the Cubs arrived. And, as everywhere, there were Cubs fans on the scene.
We're an LA-based group of ex-Chicagoans living in Los Angeles. Go Cubs!
Let's go Cubs!
In Game 3, the Giants started Mike Lacoste in place of the injured Don Robinson, and he got into trouble early. A Lacoste wild pitch had moved Ryan Sandberg to third and Dwight Smith to second. Then Andre Dawson batted.
There's a hit! One run in! Another runner on third! Dawson did it! And the Cubs are out in front, 2-0.
But the Giants came right back and scored 3 runs off Rick Sutcliffe in the first. Then, with the Cubs leading 4-3 in the 7th, there were some pitching maneuvers. Les Lancaster came in with a man on first.
There goes a runner. There's a drive into left field. Aldo might be out of here. It is! A home run!
The Giants went on to win the game 5-4, and the Cubs trailed in the series 2-1.
It was a great ball game tonight. You know, it had everything. It was well played by both teams, and you know, they got the last big play, Robbie Thompson's homer, and you know, let's get them tomorrow.
The series thus far had been a matchup not only of managers, but of red-hot first basemen. In the 5th inning of Game 4, the Cubs were trailing 4-2, but Jerome Walton was on at first base. Signs were passed and signals were sent, but the message was clear. Mark Grace should continue to swing his hot bat.
There's a line drive into right center field. Grace with another hit. The ball skips by Sheridan and will go all the way to the wall. Here comes Walton in to score. Grace on his way to third. There will not be a throw, and the Cubs have the tying run at third.
The Giants watched as Grace was followed to the plate by Andre Dawson.
And a line drive into right center. That's in there for a base hit. That will go all the way to the wall. Grace scores to tie the game, and Dawson doubles.
The Cubs had clawed back to tie the game. But in the Giants' half of the 5th, Matt Williams hit a 2-run home run. The game ended 6-4, and now the Cubs were down 3-1.
These guys have played like heck all year. I mean, exceptional. They've done a great job. And all we can do tomorrow is come out here and try to win tomorrow to get back to Chicago. And that's what we'll try to do.